And that's right, everybody. Welcome to a special bonus edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Cramer, alongside my co host, Daniel Bobo Kurlan. And we've got a lot to get into today. We wanted to do this right after the football ended. The Jets played, a game against the Dolphins this afternoon. The Giants opened up things early this Sunday morning over in England, beating the Green Bay Packers. So we're 2 for 2 so far. We're hoping our Mets can finish the clean sweep later tonight. But before we get to that, Dan, how are you feeling so far on this football Sunday?
Doing good. For one thing, early in the morning, I got up or I got up a little bit earlier than I would on a Sunday. Ordered some breakfast, some blueberry pancakes, which was fitting that I ordered blueberries because I was watching the Giants game, the Giants versus the Packers in England. What an unbelievable comeback! Also halfway into the game, and I got to give a shout to one of my Twitter peeps, Media Goon, who I thought this was a good idea to have him make this suggestion because he's a has like a collection of jerseys. Is very even some obscure special bet jersey. Like he even owns a Mercury Mets jersey. He actually owns one of those. I'm sure you remember that weird promotion the Mets did. Like I actually still have the cap from that game. They gave out a cap like that. So I still have it somewhere. But also but anyway, there was two different Met jerseys I was trying to pick to wear. One was this little special jersey that the Seven Line Army gives away when you if you sit at one of their go to one of their outings. So I had that. Whether I was going to wear that jersey today during the game or this one you're seeing me wear right now, my '80s throwback. And since the goon had spoken and said the '80s throwback, I'm going with the '80s throwback jersey, as you can see.
I like
My
I like it a lot, man. That's a good way that jersey. It just feels like that jersey has wins all over it. You know what I mean?
Yep, I know what you mean. Plus, that this jersey's actually, I mean, these '80s jerseys are like a special close to my heart because this was the jerseys that Gary Carter wore. That's why I had to own one of these
True.
because this was from that era when he played. Also, when I first got introduced to the Mets, very little. Of course, we all know about 4-year-old me being at the World Series, but the first memories I have of the Mets and being introduced to this thing called baseball and this team, the New York Mets. They were jerseys that were around at that time. These were the jerseys at that time when I got introduced to the Mets. These
Very
were the
true.
first version of the Mets jersey I've ever known.
You're right, and
So
those are the same. You know, you're a little bit older than me, but still, I even remember it. Not so much in the '80s because I was born in '86, but even those early '90s Mets teams. I remember David Cohn and Sid Fernandez wearing those jerseys, and Dave Magadan when I was a little kid, and Greg Jeffries and Kevin Elster. So yeah, I do remember just like you said, seeing those racing stripe '80s Mets jerseys very prominently as a kid and a very cool choice for today. But there is one thing I did want to backtrack to for a second, and in case you're looking at me and realizing that I look like crap, it's because eventually I did test positive for COVID over the last few days. So excuse me, but I do like to consider myself the Cal Ripken of podcasting. So I was not going to allow myself to miss any time because of this. So I'm still going strong, even with COVID. But I did want to revisit one thing you said there. You said that you opened today with some blueberry pancakes.
yeah, in the morning
Now,
because
now,
because
I was told though, Dan. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was told that blueberries were a standalone fruit. Now, is that true?
the blueberries are mixed with something else. Pancakes, all right, it's pancakes with blueberries inside.
No, that's true. That's true. I just wanted to give a shout out to the great Fez Watley, because the blueberries just reminded me of one of his all-time famous moments.
Trust me, I miss that guy. I've been lucky enough to see some funny moments with Fez in person. I met the guy, and I'm sure you've seen once you probably saw me when Fez passed away. I tweeted a signed photo of Ron and Fez that I have that I got over when they were when they were at the old 111 57th Street. I got to sign a card, and I'm a big ass card holder. Okay.
Ron and Fez, one of the greatest radio shows of all time. If you don't know what we're talking about, just do
And
yourself a favor and go on YouTube and check it out.
I credit to Fez Watley. He was one half of the duo that helped us introduce Dave to the world.
Very true. Very true. If it was not for the Ron and Fez show, the great Davy Mack sports program, the great Eastside Dave McDonald, there's a chance that we don't know about Eastside Dave at all.
Yep, exactly. Like Fez is just he is a one of a kind individual. As a matter of fact, I I secretly hope to see one day a band. Um, I have to admit, if I knew someone that was like just a that probably performs music nights at a bar, I would love to see a band just go ahead and do a cover of "It Makes You Fez." I, I would love to see a band do a cover of that
That would
because
be amazing.
there hasn't been. I mean, they did. I mean, Bennington show did a wonderful tribute to Fez when he died, but they I feel they need to do a bit. I would love to see maybe a full on big tribute special. You know, bring in some comics, do some shows. I would. I remember hearing there were going to be rumor they were potentially looking into doing that, which I hope they do that because if they do that, I'll probably sign up to get a ticket to that. But I would love to see that
Yeah.
because I
Yeah, it's been just about a year now since Fez passed away, so we just wanted to give a shout out to the big cat there because Fezzy's one of the best, no doubt about it, man. And one of Fez's favorite things was football, as we heard many times on the Ron and Fez show over the years. So let's jump right into it, Dan. You must have been so pumped watching your Giants kick ass this morning and take names in England.
I was pumped up. As I said, I was eating my breakfast. The reason I chose blueberry pancakes is because of the color blue, giant colors.
Blue?
Figured that was appropriate. I had that. I may have sometimes I might drink like some tea after work or something like that. The you know, it's a little thing after doing a rough job or sometimes in the morning. So I may have purposely drank British tea.
A little Earl Grey.
Yeah, exactly. I've been Bigelow brand. I've been buying I use very some Bigelow tea. Thanks to Howie Rose.
Exactly. Howie Rose gets everybody started on that Bigelow. But
Exactly.
I mean, and that was a terrific game for your team. I mean, it started off, a little shaky. The first half, I believe the Giants were down 20-10, and the defense was a little up and down. The offense was looking inconsistent, but for a good thing, Saquon Barkley was moving the ball on the ground, and Daniel Jones was not turning the ball over. And then in the second half of the game, everything just clicked defensively. The only thing that Aaron Rodgers and that vaunted Packers offense scored against you guys in the second half was a safety. The Giants absolutely had a phenomenal second half, including two touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And boy, what a comeback win, 27-22 in England. Uh, that's just a really big step for the Giants, 4-1. A lot of people gave plenty of compliments to the Giants over the last few weeks, but when you looked at all these prognosticators and football guys who pick games, really nobody was picking the Giants. They were not a hot pick, and they proved all the naysayers wrong. And Brian Daboll just keeps rolling right now. And it looks like this Giants team is a force to be reckoned with, right?
Yeah, it looks like that. I feel like that seems to happen a lot the last couple of years when the Giants are flying under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they fly under, all of a sudden we realize, holy shit, this team's probably a lot better than we thought. Legitimate, I mean, a legitimate contender. The more we keep winning like this, I mean, we just beat one of the upper echelons, and it looks like it's gonna be a pretty interesting season so far. I mean, it might be even more than what I expected, because I remember I said I hope that at least when it hits Thanksgiving that I'm still that the game I'm turn when I tune in to watch the game, that it's still going to be relevant, and it looks like we might be getting a little bit more than that.
No doubt about it, man. I mean, you start off the season 4-1. The expectations are going to go up. I mean, we're going to talk about the Jets in a minute, and they're only 3-2, and the expectations are going up. So for the Giants to be 4-1 right now, about to welcome the Baltimore Ravens in next week. I'm not sure if that game's at home or on the road, but they're
It is at home.
okay. So that game is at home. So that's a big deal for the Giants now. The Ravens have to come into you guys, and that's going to be a really big game for the Giants because people will still downplay this win, which is ridiculous to me because the Giants went out there and beat Aaron Rodgers. So you can't downplay that, Matt. That's a win against a fellow big time NFC team. This is a when you can put in your back pocket and feel good about it. It doesn't matter where it was, whether it was technically on a neutral site in England or wherever. If this game was being played at Division Avenue High School over here in Levittown, that would be a big freaking win. I don't care where it is because the Green Bay Packers are a damn good team. They haven't showed it every single game this year. It seems like they're still trying to find their footing. But to beat the Green Bay Packers for the Giants and to improve to 4-1 is nothing to roll your eyes around, about and say, oh well, the game was in England. These guys, weren't comfortable. They were out of their sorts. You can't downplay that.
Yeah, I felt they could have even beat them, even if they were playing against them in the frozen tundras of Lambeau Field. My impression of that guy who's always that announcer in those highlight films.
The NFL Films guy, right? Yeah,
Passed away a couple of years back, but that guy is a freaking legend.
exactly. And the Giants definitely have some memorable games at the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, as you mentioned. As a matter of fact, their roommate or whatever you want to call them from from MetLife, the Jets are going to be at that frozen tundra playing this same probably angered now uh, Green Bay Packers team there next week. So the Jets are going to have their hands full next week. But the Giants got the job done, man. That's the name of the game. They got the win. They're 4-1. They're a force to be reckoned with right now. Saquon Barkley looks healthy. Daniel Jones is not turning the ball over. They had a pretty good game at a Darius Slayton today. I was very impressed with what I saw out of him. Also, a guy who I'm really, really liking on the Giants defense, who I feel like doesn't really get a lot of love, is Julian Love. This is a guy that I watched in college. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. So I remember watching Julian Love in college. I was very impressed with him there. And coming out of Notre Dame, he was a fifth round pick for the Giants. Really didn't get a lot of attention, but man, he's turned into one of their more dependable defensive players, right?
Yeah, he's turned out pretty well. I mean, I think we looked like we got ourselves a nice little steal there in the draft.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. And the Giants have come together. Another guy too who I had my eye on today, and he didn't make too much noise, but when he did, it was impactful. Was Thibodeau, Kayvon Thibodeau? What have you liked? What you've seen out of him so far? It looks like he's added a little bit of that fierceness on the edge that the Giants have been lacking the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. It's this team is really becoming a team that's going to be feared. I feel could be around this year, even next year, but it could even happen a little earlier than expected.
Yeah,
Because
you're right.
this, yeah, I just know it's going to be very interesting this year, and I'm gonna be maybe even extending the weeks of watching Giants games.
Exactly. And you know, we'll what's it called? The Giants we mentioned, they have a big game with Baltimore next week. So it's going to be really fun to get into that and to see how the Giants react to now. They're kind of getting to the point where they have a target on their back now. And on the other side of town with the Jets, man, I mean, such a fun game today. Watching this Jets team, this young team come together. I mean, we saw you know, the Jets were just a couple of plays away from being 0-3 and looking terrible against the Cleveland Browns. They steal that game. They came back and won the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers last week, and then they turned around and blew out the Dolphins today, 40-17. The first time the Jets have scored 40 points in a game since Week 6 against the Colts in 2018. So it's been a long time. It's only, I think, the fourth time in the last decade the Jets have scored 40 points. So just it's something that you haven't seen, and especially with Zach Wilson, really, really good things are happening now with these young kids. Sauce Gardner on the first play of the game gets that. He comes in on the corner blitz, hits Teddy Bridgewater, who gets hit for the intentional grounding flag. He gets a safety on that. I mean, what did you see out of the Jets today, Dan? I mean, I think that it looks like they're really starting to come together.
Yeah, there's yeah that when I was looking at it, this that team, their latest streak looking like they're having a nice little building block year.
Yeah,
They're
and who would have thought we're 5 weeks into the season and the Jets are over 500 and the Giants are over 500.
yeah, I'm pretty sure when I know one of my friends, he's put his dad, of course, is a very famous WFAN caller. So I'm imagining he's probably very happy. I asked him how. I bet you your dad's very happy, and he will probably tell me that he is. Because
No,
trust me,
no doubt
I
about it, man.
imagine I could just hear in my own head what my friend's father would be what his father would be saying on if he called into the fan. If I just remember he was mostly Steve Summers that guy would call in.
Oh yeah, yeah, and your friend, his dad, who a lot of people who listen to the fan would know as Ira, right? I believe that's correct.
Exactly, I'm good friends with Ira's son.
I always remember him talking to Joe Beningo and to Steve Summers, like you said. So it's kind of sad that we're not going to get a Beningo show tomorrow, but it will be very interesting if you want to listen to uh, any Joe Beningo. He'll be on usually around 11:40 on Monday to recap a Jet game with Brandon Tierney and Tiki Barber on WFAN. So that is always appointment listening because it's always great to hear Joe listen to and react to the Jets.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll also have a little reacting to the outcome of the playoffs tonight.
Very
Whatever.
true. Very true. But before we do move on to the playoffs, though, I just want to wrap up with the Jets real quick. There's a couple of things I just wanted to point out. Awesome game out of Zach Wilson. Guy didn't turn the ball over. He looked so freaking good today. Just he looked poised back there. The offensive line is really coming together with Dwayne Brown slotting back into the left tackle today. Another good thing, former first round pick the Jets have out of USC, Elijah Vera Tucker. I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but he has now started at three different positions on the offensive line this year. He started at left tackle, he started at right tackle, and he started at right guard. So just what he is doing on the field is just phenomenal. So cool to see this guy really coming into his own and being a real weapon on the offensive line for the Jets. Also, too, another guy I want to tip my cap to is Brees Hall, the rookie running back. He had 100 receiving yards today. I can't remember the last time a Jet running back, period, had 100 receiving yards, much less a rookie. And he also had 97 yards on the ground. He's probably in line to be the second straight Jet to win the Rookie of the Week award in the NFL. So that's pretty cool. And a guy who gave him, will probably give him a little, fight for that title is his teammate Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner, the number 4 pick in the draft this year for the Jets, had a terrific game. His first career interception. He did get called for a PI, early in the game, but he really helped shut down Tyreek Hill, especially in the first half. He only had 5 catches for 25 yards. And he had that safety that we mentioned earlier on Teddy Bridgewater early. So really making things happen and helping the Jets put up points. So I just wanted to get that out there too. Just how cool it is to see all these guys coming together. On both sides for the green and the blue.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I I have a feeling that you're mentioning Sauce Gardner, that he's probably, if does not already, eventually he's gonna probably have his own line of hot sauce, and I have a feeling you'll probably buy a jar of it.
I definitely will. Once Sauce puts that out, no doubt about it. Give me the sauce. and with that, because we're gonna try to keep this relatively short this week because I'm still feeling a little under the weather, but we absolutely have to talk about this Mets now, and that's what we're gonna wrap up with. Um, Boy, what a turn of events that we saw. Uh, Absolute. I mean, you were at the game on Friday night.
Yeah,
Uh,
that game. I mean, there was just a lot of buzz before that game. I mean, I'm walking into that stadium. I'm just having to repeat to myself, like, it's finally happening. It's been a few years. Like, we're playoff baseball. Like, I'm at City Field in October.
right? It's been so long. 2016 was the last time we saw anything like this.
Yeah, and I'm seeing this, and I'm at my seat. The usually a little area of the ballpark. I've kind of unofficially nicknamed Mount Maloonigan because I've been, by luck, when I bought tickets, somehow my tickets were in that section somewhere around there. So I said, "Yeah, I'm sitting in Mount Maloonigan again," and we freaking gave up a couple of runs early, and it was like it took us out of it the whole game trying to play catch up. And I think it was the worst time we even would give up runs, because it's like we were facing against the Darvish, who's very difficult enough to, it's already difficult enough as it is to score runs against him, and we were behind, and that's usually never good. And we freaking, Scherzer didn't pitch, have his usual self. He wasn't pitching his usual self, so it was like, and I gotta tell you, I'm a little ashamed of some of the people that booed Max Scherzer, because I feel he's a lot better than that outing. I mean, the guy could. I'm pretty sure if he advanced to the next round, watch Scherzer all of a sudden probably pitch a great game. Because let's face it, the greats, we've seen it all the time. The greats, they have a bad game. You know what happens? Seems to always happen when the greats have a bad game. They bounce back big time.
They pick themselves up. You're absolutely right. And you know what, man? I think you make a great point about that too, because I noticed last night after Carl after Darren Ruff struck out against um, Blake Snell, and which he got booed, and rightfully so, because Darren Ruff is a stiff, and Darren Ruff shouldn't have even been in that lineup last night. The best thing he did in weeks was get hit by that pitch last night. But uh, Carl Ravage, the ESPN announcer, mentioned after that. He said Oh boy, and Met fans in no time they're booing Darren Ruff now, but they didn't even boo Max Scherzer off the mound last night. And I agree with you. Max Scherzer should not have been booed off the mound last night. Sure, Max Scherzer had a absolutely terrible night. Terrible. But let's be honest. I still think that even though, and I give him all the credit in the world for this because he's not using it as an excuse, Max Scherzer is definitely still dealing with some repercussions from that oblique. You can tell he doesn't have the same zip on his fastball that he's had the entire year. He had it in that first start back against Milwaukee. He hasn't had it since. And what his fastball is doing, it's leveling out in the strike zone and it's going right into the worst possible spot. And we're seeing that Manny Machado home run, a line drive blast. I think it was less so. That was just a good piece of hitting on the Josh Bell home run earlier. But the all the other ones, I think, was just because I really think his oblique is barking. And I really give Max Scherzer a lot of credit for being out there, for gutting it through. And even though it didn't work out in that first game, it wasn't a one game playoff. I would be much more angry if it was a one game playoff and that was it. The Mets season ended right there. But it wasn't.
Yeah,
Scherzer, just like you said, Scherzer could come back in game one against the Dodgers and dominate.
yeah, exactly. And it would not surprise me at all. But yeah, also I have to say about speaking of this series, yesterday's game. I'm watching it. I kind of had to take a look again when I heard they were talk. Some people on social media was talking about it because I admit during the game I may have hit the mute button and had the Howie Rose feed, had the only CBS News Radio 88 feed while the TV was on mute because I didn't really want to get announcers. But I heard they made some mistakes, including thinking that I don't know, they thought they totally must be, I don't know, maybe forgot what year it was or something because they thought Reyes was a shortstop.
There were a couple of missteps like that. You are right. I did hear somebody at one point call Lindor Reyes. I forgot about that until right now. You are 100% right about that. So and this is the problem when you get these national announcers. We need Gary Cohen for this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I had to, and I heard about it on social media. So because they still had the game DVR'd, I took a look at my DVR because I still have the game saved in my DVR.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. And so I quickly want to get through the game yesterday too because phenomenal game. We had the first inning home run from Lindor, the home run that put them ahead from Pete Alonso that they didn't relinquish the lead. Six gutty innings from DeGrom. I mean, it's not 100% what we would have loved to see before, but hey, DeGrom did what he did in Game Five in 2015 against the Dodgers. He gutted it through and gave him a chance to win. You can't ask for anything more than that. But what I wanted to ask your opinion of is what did you think of Buck's decision to go to Edwin Diaz in the seventh inning? Uh, I thought it might have been a little premature, but hey, it worked out, and and Edwin says he's ready to go today.
Well, I feel at the time there was a situation that was urgency. Also, I think I think Buck Showalter knew the right decision. That if there was one time he needed to bring his best reliever at a time they were going to face the toughest part of the lineup. That was that those were going to be the most important outs they got was against the toughest part of the lineup during late in that game. So he knew that was the time they're bringing Edwin Diaz in.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And he brought him in specifically first too, which I thought was very interesting. He said is Grisham, their number eight hitter, the lefty, had homered in game one off Scherzer and earlier in game two off the Grom to tie the game at one. And he said that, Grisham's been putting good swings on the ball. So he wanted for eight, nine, and one, he wanted Diaz in there. And then he also left Diaz in there in the eighth to face Machado and to face you know um, Josh Bell. So I think that was terrific managing by Buck. It shows that you can teach an old dog new tricks because this is the same guy who managed in 2016 and didn't even use Zach Britton in a one-game playoff between the Blue Jays and his old Baltimore Orioles. So this is a guy who knew he had to get his best pitcher in the game, and he did it, and it worked out. And hey, I mean, Diaz threw 28 pitches, but he says he's ready and raring to go today, and you can't beat that, right, Dan?
Yep, exactly. This is probably the complete opposite of a little bad decision that Buck made a bunch of years back when he was managing the Yankees, when he listened to that suggestion by the traveling secretary. We all remember how that one. You'll I mean I'll never forget hearing about that when Mattingly split his pants because of that switch of the that suggestion he actually listened to. Didn't go
Mattingly just split his pants. Yeah, thank God Pete Alonso didn't split his pants last night.
that suggestion to Buck.
No doubt about it. And hey, Buck, he didn't, he took that advice, unfortunately. But hey, he's taking the advice of other baseball guys today too. He's looking at the game from a different angle. So gotta love Buck. Gotta love his ability to learn on the fly and readjust. The Mets were able to seal that win last night, and even the series at one, coming up to this big game three tonight now, where we got Chris Bassett 15-9 on the season, had a pretty good year if you take out that last start in Atlanta, where he did say he was trying too hard. So hopefully he learned his lesson. And then they're going against Musgrove tonight.
Yep, exactly. And this time, you was changing channels multiple times during the game, which was I don't know, was a little bit of a crazy debacle. Luckily for me, I knew that was probably going to happen with the game yesterday because I've watched several playoff games in years past, even last year, maybe the last couple of years. I've seen it happen with networks when they've had to move a game because they were going to run two games back to back in the early rounds, and because it overlapped a broadcast right after, they had until the till one game that was ending, they had to push the broadcast to another channel that was owned by the same company. I've seen them TBS do that, and I've seen ESPN do that. So luckily, I figured out that it was going to probably be on like ESPN two or ESPN News or something like that. So the only problem is I know some carriers might not have ESPN two, or some carriers might not have ESPN News. So I know it may have affected those people. So it kind of sucked for some people that had a carrier that maybe didn't have ESPN two or ESPN News that may have missed a big chunk of the game and might have even missed Lindor's home run there. That home run in the first inning
Yeah,
may have missed it
yeah,
because
you're
of that.
very right, man. I mean, and that was ridiculous too. Like, first off, I understand that Mariners and Blue Jays game was a thriller, no doubt about it. That was a crazy, crazy game, the crazy comeback, and really hope that both Bichette and Springer are okay after that scary collision in center field. Um, but how in New York could you not have the Met game on regular ESPN? I mean, you had college football which also in New York gets no ratings on Channel 7, which is another ESPN network. So they didn't have it on regular ABC here. They had a college football game. On They stick the Met game first on ESPN News, like you mentioned, which was just ridiculous. And then they stick the Met game. They bumped the Met game off ESPN News for some, what was it, like some hacky sack tournament or something they had going on there, cornhole or something like that, and and then the
I
Mets
don't know.
on ESPN two. That was ridiculous.
Yeah. I forgot. I think it was cornhole.
Yeah, I
Was so I
mean,
had right. So I remember ESPN two. Then all of a sudden I noticed it's all of a sudden I'm seeing a cornhole match channel to ESPN2.
It's ridiculous, man. And look, I understand that they have plenty of commitments and different things that they have to adhere to, but boy, that was crazy.
Then I had the channel. Then I had to change the channel to ESPN. I'm shocked it didn't get moved to another. I'm shocked they didn't try putting it on ESPN 8 the O show and it didn't get bumped because of a volleyball
The Ocho.
back to the movie Dodgeball. I'm sorry. I don't, and speaking of that, I don't know if you remember, they actually did. Remember how in the past couple of years they've done ESPN the Ocho in real life for like a day?
Yeah.
I I I I wish they would bring that back. They haven't done it the last 3 summers, but
Oh,
I
I
hope
guess
they.
ever since COVID, I think you're right. Yeah.
But I hope they do ESPN 8 day again because that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun watching that. I had the DVR. I had the DVR it because I thought it was just a lot of fun that they recreated that in real life.
That was a very funny idea too. I remember I saw that accidentally one day, and I didn't even know what the hell I was seeing.
I was seeing one of these things like the electrician competition. Yeah,
So
actually,
funny, man. So funny.
and then I think else called tennis, which is like tennis over head as the that's that's boy that sounds like a concussion waiting to happen. I cannot wait to see someone explain that to a doctor to say like how'd you get this concussion, and then I'm explaining, yeah, we were playing this game called tennis and it's pretty much like instead of a racket we're using our heads as the and then the doctor would be like, oh my god, look how stupid I
Of
can
course.
only.
Oh my God. All right. Well, as we're rounded down here right now, as you could tell, as we're getting a little silly here, but I do want to go over the lineups real quick before we get out of here, Dan. Um, so for the Mets, we got Brandon Nimmo leading off, Starlin Marte back there in the 2 hole. That's big. That makes their lineup so much more dangerous. Lindor batting third. Pete Alonso is cleaning it up at first base. You have Jeff McNeil after that at batting fifth at second base. Mark Canha is in left. Daniel Vogelback is slotted in as the DH again against the righty. And then you finish up with Escobar at third and Nito in the 9 hole. So is there anything that stands out to you in that lineup that you don't agree with, or are you pretty on par with Buck for this choice?
Well, so far it worked well yesterday. I kind of had a little sometimes early rounds of the playoffs. I kind of maybe game two. I kind of had mixed opinions on the lineup. Maybe he should have took a chance on Alvarez at DH. I feel
Yeah,
because
there's
I
no
feel
way.
he kind of do got.
I
And
agree with you.
he should maybe get some at bats because I feel like when from what I've been seeing of him in the minor leagues and I've been taking a look at some minor league games on and off the online, and it seems like every time he moves up to a new level, once he's like gets kind of adjusted to it, he kind of once he gets going, he really gets going. I mean, I saw it when he played for the Cyclones when he was there. He was like once he got going, it's like he seemed to be hitting a ton.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, man. I mean, there's like a mini adjustment period that you're 100% right that he goes through. I mean, even at AAA, it seemed like it lasted a little bit longer. But boy, when things clicked, and it did at AAA, because he ended with at one point he was hitting in the 150s in AAA, and he ended up hitting around near 230. So he was on a tear at the end of his time in AAA there, and I completely agree with you that I would have given Alvarez the nod yesterday. I understand Buck trusting the veteran Ruff, but I don't even understand why Darren Ruff is on this roster. I would have much rather had Tyler Naquin on this roster than Darren Ruff, but that's just me. But that's just also nitpicking too, because guess what? They won the game last night, and that's all that matters. Let's get another win tonight, and then who cares what happened in this series? We're moving on, and we're going to be facing Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers if the Mets win tonight, Tuesday night, 8:35 in Atlanta, in Los Angeles, and it's going to be Kershaw against the Mets, and who knows who's going to be starting in that game. It might be a little bit too early for Scherzer to come back, so who knows? We might see a Carlos Carrasco or someone starting that first game.
Either Carrasco or Walker pitch a game.
Yeah, and Walker is actually, now that you mentioned that, it's funny you mentioned that. Uh, Joely Rodriguez was ruled out of this series. He had some kind of shoulder issue, and Taiwan Walker replaced him on the roster. Now, what this means too is that um, uh, what that means is that Joely Rodriguez is now not eligible to come back for this series or the LDS too. So that means the only lefty in that Met bullpen would be David Peterson. So let's hope that it doesn't come down to a big spot against a lefty. Even though I do like David Peterson a lot, I'm not sure if I trust him as a reliever in a big spot like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of think the same thing. Hopefully it goes in our favor. And if we win today, whoever we start in game one of the LDS, if we get that far, is gonna be depending. I feel is gonna play the decision. The factor in that decision will be depending on if Walker at any point pitched in tonight's game.
Absolutely. I could not agree more because you know that one of the reasons why Buck had Walker added to this roster is having that in the back of his head. If anything should happen with Bassett or potentially even DeGrom last night, that Walker would be one of the first guys out of the pen, if not the first. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you that Walker's kind of there as a safety net right now, hoping that Bassett doesn't, have a type of outing that he had last week against Atlanta, where he only lasted 2 2/3 innings. So if that happens tonight, Walker would probably be the guy you'd see. And you're right. If the Mets did happen to win tonight with that, then that would preclude him from pitching game one. So we'll see what happens. There's still a lot of things up in the air. But before we get out of here, Dan, what's your prediction for the game tonight?
I feel like the Mets are probably going to win this game. I just, I don't know. I have a feeling that we're going to win this one.
Get
Could I'm 5-2 Met win.
5-2 Met win. And if you had to pick your standout player, your star for the night, who is it?
I I really feel like McNeil is going to play a big factor in this game. He could factor in this very game. Could be one of the biggest games he'll have.
Yeah, the Major League batting champion. And boy, did he have a big hit yesterday, too, that really helped this team, driving in 2 runs. Yeah, so I totally agree with you on that. That's definitely a good pick. For me, you said 5-2. It's funny, we're very close because I actually had 5-3 in my head as the Mets winning. And I think they're going to get a big game out of Bassett. I'm thinking Bassett is going to pitch into the eighth inning tonight. He might not finish it. I'm thinking like 7 1/3, 7 2/3 innings or something like that, and then maybe Edwin Diaz just finishes it off after that. Hopefully, that's not wishful thinking on my part, but I have a lot of confidence in Bassett going into tonight's start. How about you?
Yep, same here. I just have that confidence going into the night start. I'm thinking at least 7 innings we got out of. Also, I'm going to be watching with probably my mom, Mr. Malunigan. Might have some people on my Zoom I'll be talking to just about every Met fan I know on my phone after this game. So it's gonna be nuts. This I'm not gonna be calm until this game is over, and I'm I don't think I'm gonna get much sleep tonight after
Either way, win or lose, I agree with you. It's probably going to be a sleepless night tonight. But you know,
that. Got some victory beers in the fridge ready to go. That's all I need to.
exactly, man. It's do or die tonight at Citi Field for the New York Metropolitans and actually the San Diego Padres, the final game of their 3-game opening wildcard weekend series. And Dan, before we get out of here, do you have any plugs for yourself, my friend?
Sure, my Twitter account Bobo 103 NYC, and of course my Instagram Bobo 718DK, and my YouTube Daniel Kurlan. And I'm gonna be, Mom, I'm filming. And of course, I'm so sorry about that. We're gonna gotta cut that part out.
Cut that pod out.
All right, great. Also, I'm gonna be on I'm gonna be on East Side Dave tomorrow. Where they're filming tomorrow. So I'm gonna be on the East Side the Davy Max Sports program this week. So that's gonna be fun time. Can't wait to see what crazy shit little Davy's gonna say to me tomorrow.
Well, let's just hope the Mets win, so it's not about that.
But believe me, I have to admit, part of me, I think it'd be hilarious. It would probably be difficult because Dave is on somewhere else, and I'm gonna be on somewhere else on my end. If he was in the same room, it might be tempted if he was in the same room with, God forbid I ever get to see it happen, the Mets win this World Series. Do remember South Park? Remember when he was trying to do that thing with his brother Ike, kick the baby?
Yes, yes.
I might see me try to punt little Davy. I just think it'd be.
That is hilarious, man. So do yourself a favor and keep
By
it.
the way,
What's that, Dan?
puppets making of that episode. By the way,
What's
no
that?
puppets at that episode.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, do yourself a favor and keep an eye out for Dan on the Davy Max Sports program. That'll be out. They film on Monday, so that'll be out on Tuesday. Keep an eye out for that. Well, actually, he's been doing it live lately too, so there's a possibility that there's a live stream on Monday night that everybody can tune into. So keep an eye out for that. Eastside Dave TV on YouTube. One of the best guys out there, no doubt about it. So Dan, oh yeah, and once again, before we get out of here, you can check our Twitter account out on Twitter at bsith_podcast. And you can check me out on Twitter, my last name, Cramer, NY. So once again, thanks for tuning in to the Best Seat in the House podcast, our special bonus episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed doing it. And Dan, one more thing before we get out of here. Let's get some Let's Go Mets chants going. Let's
Right.
go Mets. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. There we
See you guys.
There we go, everybody. Let's go, Mets. And for the Best Seat in the House podcast, I'm Rob Cramer. This is Daniel Bobo Kurlan, and we'll catch you on Thursday.